Okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to break down tonight's game and this road trip? Because it's really one where things could have gone better, but things also could have gone much worse. You have to take what you get, put it in the bigger picture. I guess just take it and move on. You're going to have 12 days now to digest this, sit on this road trip, which again could have been an exclamation point. It could have been a team unraveling, but it was neither of those things. It was 4 points in 8 games against 4 very difficult teams to go against. Let's start Sharks Night Shift. What do you say?
Broadcasting live and worldwide. Here's Brody Brazil.
Welcome to my little live stream, Sharks Night Shift, following a 3-2 overtime defeat for the San Jose Sharks and their third straight one-goal loss. Why are you frustrated tonight? Well, maybe specifically because of some calls. Maybe because you were that close to beating Tampa after last time getting drubbed 7-1 10 days ago. Maybe because on this road trip, you lose these last 3 games by the slimmest of margins, and you're already down Erik Karlsson, and you don't have a backup goalie to go to. You don't have, well, you do, but you don't have Adin Hill as your primary backup option right now. So I see the frustration, and that's a good thing for Sharks fans, because that frustration right now means you expect more, you expect better. You know this group is capable of it. If you weren't frustrated and you say, well, hey, I didn't really think they'd even do this well against these teams, then that's when you know your team is not there, your team's not moving in the right direction. The fact that people are frustrated by this, and the Sharks are frustrated by this, shows me a sign of where they're at, moving in the right direction. So how do you want to break down this road trip? Do you want to say 1 win in 4 games? Or do you want to say points in 3 of 4 games? Because that is the 2 different ways to slice it. But both of them happened. And I feel like tonight, the McDonough trip on Timo and then the Timo embellishment call to go along with it. Do I think that alone right there could have produced a different game result? Possibly. I'm still not a huge fan of 4-on-3s in overtime. I know that that's the only way to do it, but I don't know. Power plays in overtime don't always work for me the same way. I would have taken it, most certainly. Absolutely. But I think there were a multitude of calls tonight which were hard to understand, hard to digest, hard to really rationalize in the end. And I hate to sit here and point to the refs. I mean, if you guys watch me on TV or here on YouTube, it's one of the things I don't like to instantly go to that all the time, because it gets old, and it also, sends a message across the different fan bases that sometimes you can't see outside of your own team to understand that refs are not typically out to get you. But let's be honest, some nights there are just swings and sequences, and it's not even intentional. Things just don't go your way at all with the calls. In fact, they greatly go the other way. And I feel like tonight was that to a certain extent. Maybe enough to the extent of deciding a 1-goal game in overtime. Maybe. So, a couple things to break down. Let's not forget, who did the Sharks just play? The Washington Capitals, the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, and now the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think they are the 3rd out of these 4 teams to be at the 30-win mark. 30 wins in approximately, everybody's got 45, 46 games in the books. 30-win teams is what the Sharks just went up against. The opponents were not easy on this trip. The geography was not easy on this trip. You're already down Karlsson. You're down Adin Hill. You were down Mario Ferraro for only a game, which is a surprise, which we'll talk about in a second. And Jake Middleton as well, too, among some others. So against certain odds, 4 points in 4 games, 4 out of 8. It's 500 hockey. It's what you aim for on the road anyway. All things considered, okay. You suck it up and you move on. I think that's it though, right? It had the opportunity. If this were 6 points, 6 out of 8 points, you'd be thrilled. You'd feel like, all right, this is something to sit on. This is kind of This is going to make the break that much sweeter. And I don't know, does it, after 12 days off, does it really mean anything if the Sharks tanked into this or if they won all 4 of these games? When it comes time to February 14th, did any of that actually matter? I don't know. Not entirely would be my answer. I think it somewhat matters how you do. And the Sharks played somewhat well. So one of the first things I want to talk about, actually, you know what? Let me get back to using this. Why am I not, if I have this, why am I not saying
number 1?
I guess I want to do 3 things. So let me start off with the Sharks goalie tandem, or lack thereof. I mean, it's been so unfortunate this season that you've had Adin Hill make 4 or 5 starts in a row. You've had James Reimer make 4 or 5 starts in a row, I think twice now. But none of this has been by design. It's not that you're playing Reimer 5 in a row. You're starting him 5 in a row because you really, really want to. I mean, sometimes you do. And he has been playing well. Don't get me wrong. That's not it. I'm just saying that a goalie tandem is usually a 1-2 punch, right? That's the definition of the expression, a 1-2 punch. Or sometimes it could go 1-2-2, 1-1, 2-2, 2-1-1. I mean, back and forth is what I'm saying. But when you have to go to Reimer 5 times in a row and you have to go to Adin Hill 4 or 5 times in a row, I don't know that you're truly getting, like I said, the full benefit of 2 really good goalies. All of this comes, I know, at weird timing from me because look how many goals the Sharks have been giving up on this trip. Not a lot. And even the 5 spot they gave up a couple games ago, like that game didn't even feel that bad. The Panthers put up 50 shots on James Reimer back on Saturday night. So it was more about the skaters in front and the defense in front instead of the goaltending itself. But again, I'm just here to say that the Sharks should be frustrated with their goaltending only in one way, that they haven't been able to alternate it. They haven't been to diversify it. They haven't been able to unleash it evenly. It's been a lot of heavy one side, then heavy the other. Hopefully these 12 days off will get Adin Hill healthy. James Reimer had just been coming off the lower body injury, so hopefully all continues to be right there. It would be terrific if, come game 47, starting on February 14th, if you could start the alternation back and forth again. You could throw the opponent off balance a little bit, and you would do, I think, even better in some of these high workload situations. Let me also bring up this point too. Some have been saying lately, and I've caught on to it, and I actually agree with this, the Sharks play their best hockey this year when the games are boring. Now, when I say games are boring, first off, I think a lot of times, fans might say that, but how do you define boring? Because there are still chances, there's still defense to marvel at. Sometimes it's a great save. Sometimes it's just the chances are fewer and far between, but boring is just an opinion. I'm here to say that maybe the Sharks, when they're doing what they're supposed to do this year, maybe their style of play doesn't induce great chances both ways. I felt like the first period was just what the Sharks wanted to do. 9 shots for Tampa, 7 for San Jose. Each team took a penalty, wasn't really wide open back and forth. I think, did Bonino hit a post early in this game? But, again, just kind of a pretty pedestrian first period. Now, second period, penalties to San Jose, 2 goals to Tampa, 1 on the power play. Kind of got away from that. But the third period was overall kind of like the Sharks game again. One team didn't have a huge grasp on the game for or the period for 12 minutes or so, and it's just when the Sharks are winning, or even in this last little stretch here when they're playing tough teams real close, these games don't have a ton of goals. They don't have a ton of chances both ways. I think it just speaks to the Sharks defensively that they're going to be this year as good as their defense can help them with. I don't know that scoring is their expertise. I don't know that scoring is their strongest point. And it was great to see Couture get another one tonight. It's been a while. It's been a while since he really got on a roll. You're obviously looking at a top 6 situation that's top heavy for this team in terms of scoring. And so I think it's just a matter of of the Sharks in playing good defense gets you the results more often than not. It's not just 2 or fewer, but it's that good team defense, and you've got the goaltenders to do it this year. You're not necessarily going to outscore all your problems. Probably the best way to put it. So there's that too. One other point I wanted to make. Yeah, isn't it interesting? The Hedman game-winning goal, and Brownie said this too. Shot or pass, I'm not sure. The way it kind of floated, looked like he was initially trying to sauce it to somebody. It's amazing how some of these games and overtimes end in situations like that. So yeah, for the Sharks, just to summarize, their first game of February, their last game before 12 days off, and on the 14th, they will face the Oilers and, Evander Kane at SAP Center for the first of 4 times head-to-head between the Sharks and Kane. And I know people want to talk about that. I honestly have no clue what that game is going to be like. Let's dive into the comments here, beginning with Alex. And I think you say it well there. 3-2 refs. I hate to throw referees into, well, we didn't win because of this, or they won because of that. It not always is the answer, but I think sometimes is a factor, right? Probably the case tonight. Andrew checking in from Japan. You know I always love that, Andrew. Terrible embellishment call against Timo. Would have been a power play. The stoppage of Palat crashing the net. Yeah, what, a couple shifts before that? Or was that like right before that? It all kind of blurred to me. But yeah, right before that. That stopped the Sharks from going 2-on-1 the other way. This OT loss stings a lot. I got to say, the Sharks also, I think they've just fell now to 6-3 in overtimes this year. At one point, they were 6-0, and they are still a very good 3-on-3 team. They've got the players. They've got multiple sets of threes that keep coming at you. I really feel great when the Sharks are in an overtime situation. You do feel like they're going to cash in and get their 2 points, but not so tonight. Nas here, it seemed a bit like the refs didn't want to be the decider of an OT game. So let's call, that's a great, you know what? That's a great viewpoint of that. Let's call both and take the pressure off our original call, because you can't really ignore the Ryan McDonough trip, right? He literally had, anytime that stick shaft is horizontal and it's up like that, it's going to be something. Hooking, tripping, holding, whatever. It's going to be a penalty when it's up high like that, and especially when Timo went down like he did. Alden saying, Bob Bugner, I actually, as soon as I saw him step over the bench to come down to the wall and start talking to the officials, I thought he was coming out on the ice. The refs should have stayed at Foot Locker. You're going old school on that one, Alden. I think Boogie went full aggro if you read his lips when the cams cut to him. Fully deserved. Oh, yeah, I was saying it in the studio. And I know a lot of you don't believe that because I don't, curse up a storm here on YouTube, and everything else I do is on television, so I can't curse. But yeah, you could see every F-bomb from his mouth, and I think it was all plain to see, and rightfully so, because a sequence of things went wrong against the Sharks right there. Look at the bright side. It's a much-needed point in the standings. And I agree. T-Money, that comment is money. It's true. 4 out of 8 points on this road trip. It's the equivalent of, what if I told you beat Washington in regulation and you beat the Canes in regulation and you lost the other 2 by single goals? Okay, it happens. Still frustrating, especially when you lose those by 1. But again, Sharks are 48 points in 46 games. It's going to put them on pace right now for what, 80, let's say 85, 86, something like that points. Is that enough? Or do you have to hit the 90-point mark to be a wild card team? I don't know how this season is going to play out in the West. I didn't know the NHL hired Tim Donaghy as a ref. Look that up if you're not a basketball fan. I don't think it's like that. Oh, Nas, you got a plane to catch. What are you taking the All-Star break off? You going off on a little vacation, or you're actually probably flying the plane? Now that I know, what a terrible ref job. The delay of game, no call, then the embellishment. So angry right now. Grrr. Grab a stick and some pucks broken. Let it out. Luckily, I see broken. He's talking to the other person there. Luckily, you have your own game in a few, so I will. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, don't break a $300 stick. Oh, you know what I just realized? I've been reading all these comments and they weren't even on the screen. Brazil. Come on. And I had problems last time with these, and now they're fine. All right, let's catch up to the comments here. Alden starting his all-star break the right way. 4 points, I'll take it. Desert Dogs. Drink, drink, drink. Felix, this is a good point too, and I mentioned it before that you had, out of these 4 teams, you essentially had 4 30-game winners between the Caps, Panthers, Canes, and Bolts. But now you legitimately have 3 30-game winners because Tampa picked up win 30 tonight. The 2-time Stanley Cup defending champions. Yeah, you have to acknowledge moral victories, but you also have to understand that if you can play this well against these teams, you also can't lose again to the Seattle Kraken. And you got to play the Kings well, and you got to play the Ducks well. And you got to play the rest of your division as well as you just played these Eastern teams. You got to do that to your own division, right? Because if you bring what you brought tonight against Tampa and all their skill, all their firepower, there's no way that some of the other teams in the West or in the Pacific that they should beat you multiple times like Seattle did hypothetically. And I'm just bringing up the Kraken because they're a last place team, but you catch my point there. Let's see here. We did get a point, but it wasn't worth the point. Everybody talking about the point the Sharks still got. Call it whatever you want. Just don't call it a rebuild. Are you talking about the Sharks? Let's see here. Scoring has been pathetic since the 19-20 season. I don't know. Quite honestly, last year, I think the Sharks, you say that, Eddie, and I think a lot of people might initially agree, but I don't know that scoring was the Sharks' problem even last season. It came and went, and I've got to be upfront. Evander Kane was on a tear at certain points last season, but it was a shortened season. It was a different season. But a lot of times the Sharks, they could score goals last year. They just could not prevent them. And so now what you've got is a team that is doing a much better job preventing goals, but maybe they're going in ruts individually and collectively, and that's kind of the hard part here. Tampa had 2 after regulation. 2 or fewer usually wins you a game. Sharks lost to Carolina last game 2-1. So there you go. Positive note, happy Lunar New Year. It's also, I woke up this morning, and you ever have it where you forgot that, oh my gosh, it's February. Where is the time going? And January did feel, personal note here, let me step aside from hockey. January felt like super long. And it always kind of does right after the holidays and everybody, winds down and, when I say the holidays, I'm saying like it's the gauntlet of Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or anything everybody celebrates, or whatever you celebrate, I guess is what I'm saying. It's the sequence of the holiday season, one to the next, to the next, to the next. And then you get to January and you're like, 31 days and there's just not a whole lot going on. It's Martin Luther King Day, but there's not a whole lot in 31 days going on like there just was across the fall. I woke up and I was like, wow, it's February. And now we're going to get these 12, 13 days off for the Sharks. Other teams are going to play a handful of games. Like, for example, the Oilers, they're going to be playing essentially right through. They have 8 or 9 games to make up. So they're going to be busy between now and the 14th. But the Sharks absolutely will not. Yeah, and I think, Kevin, you got it right here. Oh, got to hit the comments, Brazil. Previous season's defense was not good. So I don't know that the scoring has gotten dramatically worse. I don't think it's got better, but it hasn't got worse. I think the defense has got so much better. But I take it back. I want to make sure I get this right. the defense has improved so much, but I'm not sure that the Sharks were a bad scoring team ever. And I'm not sure they are a bad scoring team right now. Certainly they've gone through some ruts lately. They're capable of it. I know they are. I mean, you've got Timo and Tomash, 22, 21, 22 goals. I mean, even Logan, who hadn't scored in a while, he's sitting on 14. Did Dahlin crack 10 recently, right? Double digits. So you've got players that can do it. Again, though, I would say where the goals are coming from more than anything, it's a little bit top heavy. This is a Sharks team that is not necessarily diverse in its scoring. I think that's probably their biggest scoring issue. It's not so much the ruts that they get in sometimes. It's where the goals come from regularly and where they don't come from regularly. How would a player even embellish a tripping call? You're either tripped or you're not. Well, Jeff, I could show you how you do how you embellish it. You just kind of go, ah! You just kind of fall over. You go down too easy, right? That's what the embellishment typically is in the NHL. But I mean, look, it's amazing sometimes what hockey players expect. I mean, they could be off balance and you get tripped and you fall easier. How many of you who are, let's just say, intermediate skaters, not even beginners, but you're an intermediate skater, sometimes it doesn't take much to throw you off your skates, throw you off an edge especially. So, yeah, the NHL players, they know when somebody embellished, somebody sold it. I'm here to say that, and watching that replay over and over again, that was not embellishment to me. If you watch pro soccer, that's the master class of trip embellishments. And also staying down on the ground for a long time. And all of a sudden, as soon as the trainer comes out, nope, I'm good. If you're giving up more goals than scored, that's going to be a tough season. Well, and that's the thing, Kevin. I think when I'm having a hard time summarizing this, the Sharks are not giving up a ton of goals on a regular basis. But they haven't had that burst of, they know they're going to get their goals. They have been better. And I guess maybe I should have said that before too. We talked about last year. They could score a lot more regularly last year. It's just that this year I think they are struggling a little bit, just being regular in their goal scoring. And again, it's from not enough people instead of not enough goals often, if that makes sense. And it's the depth. It's not the I'm really struggling on this. I'll move on. Solid finish to the most difficult road trip of the season. Yeah, I mean, it's respectable, right? It's not optimal, but it's at the very least respectable. Who you played, how these games went, all that stuff. Maddie checking in here. Timo laying on the ice face down while two Tampa players are yanking him up by his jersey. I did see that. We showed that on our post game, and I was like, what? What are you guys doing? You don't go over to the opponent after he just got tripped. I agree. So I don't think they are a bad scoring team. They just can't score at the moment they really need. Yeah, and that's fair, Andrew. I guess what I'm struggling with is, we've established, we know team defense has gotten so much better. We know goaltending because of that has also improved and has gotten so much better. Is their scoring worse than it used to be? Is it the timeliness of it? For me, maybe it's that, but I just keep going back to, you got to have a third and fourth line that gets you a goal every third or fourth game. And at this point, it's 6 or 7 or 8 games between when that happens. So, defensively, much better this year. All right. Well, can the Sharks file a complaint? I don't think so. I think you're supposed to, in the press conference, you're supposed to say something that catches everybody's attention. But no, I don't think you do. Here's Vibhav. I don't know if I'm saying that right or if that's a name or just a screen name. I normally don't complain about officiating, but my God, that overtime call was bad. Which one? Because I agree with you. There's several of them. All right. Trade deadline, March 21st. Thoughts on the Sharks being buyers or sellers? We still have a long way to go until that point. But I think what we do know is that the Sharks are not going to mortgage the future for right now. I don't think that would be the smartest move either. You have made strides this year. You've got Balcers and Barabanov, and Mario takes another step forward, and Šimek is starting to show, signs of how he was when he came to the team. And what's the Hurdle situation? Are you going to re-sign him? Hopefully by March 21st, you've got even a better indication. Maybe he takes a little bit of time here during the All-Star break. No games. You can actually have the chat. I don't know. How do you feel? What do you want to do? I certainly don't think hardcore buyers or hardcore sellers is the answer for the Sharks. Would there be some moves if it would make the team better for anything today, but also next year, year after that, whether it's picks or players? Of course. But I don't think you're making moves for the next couple weeks. I think this team, as is, has earned the right to continue to be together, like at the very least. But again, if there is something enticing out there that helps you in a season down the road, and for sure helps you in a season down the road, I think you consider it. But I also, again, I don't think you consider anything of a large scale here. I don't know that there will be something presented like that, but I don't really think that you need to rock this boat a ton for here and now. I think maybe the better moves might be in the offseason. I think continuing to build the team in the right direction is the ultimate move. With younger players, with acquisitions that, maybe there's a UFA at the end of the season. So I think there was hoping Hurdle will stay with the Sharks. Agreed. And I think, you guys can throw out names, but a Ranger soon. Wait, Giroux or Hurdle? Stay Hurdle. Kevin, that's a good point too. Like, you don't know what March is going to bring. And I will say this, if the Sharks, and I was saying that about the deadline, I should put some better thoughts together in an actual prepared video. Maybe I'll do that in the next couple of days. If you are a team that's still put together by then, like if you're competitive, if you're in the playoff conversation, then you've deserved the right to stay together, and you're still building the team, and there's no problems there. But if the Sharks have unraveled a little bit by March 21st, then I would hedge to say more sellers than buyers. Obviously not buyers, but I would say a lot depends on what they do from now until then. I think I can almost rule out buyers entirely, but I think the question is sellers to what extent, if at all. That's probably the best way to put it. So I think what I'm going to do is, and that's right. That's it, Kevin. I think the hard part is deciding what to do if you are on the bubble. Where do you draw the line? If you know you're on the bubble, though, and you get something that's enticing, you might take it, right? Because the whole notion of, I know I'm on the bubble, I know I know that this could go either way, but I also know that this will help us down the road. You probably do what helps you down the road. I think that's probably the way to go. All right, you know what? I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to actually make a totally separate video on that in the coming days. Who will the Sharks? Well, who will they be? What will they be likely doing by the time that the NHL's trade deadline comes around? So, if you think I'm disappearing, if you think I'm not going to be on YouTube, you're wrong. You know better than that. 12-day break for the Sharks. I might have 6 or 7 videos out in the next 12 days. Who knows? I will be here live streaming. I'll be here with some thoughts, trade deadline, maybe a video leading up to the first of 4 head-to-head meetings against the Oilers. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, and I'm also going to take some time off. It's definitely important to do that. So happy to see Mario Ferraro back tonight. Happy to see Jake Middleton back tonight. Happy to see the Sharks get to 500 on this trip. But they were that close to making it a great one. I hope you make it a great one. Thanks for watching. Hey, thumbs up on this video before you close it out. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you very soon. All right? Good night.